Where does one start here? First, I put my email up, and if anybody wants any of the slides I'm showing, just email me and I'll send them to you. There's quite a lot of slides which I'll flip over because I can't do everything in 30 minutes, but the bigger story is there on the emails, on the PowerPoint slides. Right, now, as you all know, we have this box of kidney disease in our dogs. It first arose, as we know today, about 8 years ago. And since then, I think you probably all understand, it's been a bit of a bumpy ride, for me at least. Different views have been put forward at individual level, at breed club level, international breed club level, uncertain as to whether JKD exists, whether it is in boxes only, whether it's inherited, whether it has a recessive gene inheritance, and indeed whether it is frequent enough, and this is the key one, frequent enough to be worth bothering about. So you've got all these opinions, and that, I guess it is my duty to do today to try and present the case that it is certainly worth dealing with. Now, oh, I need a thing.
Oh, there it is in the corner. There.
There's a slight delay. Press it once.
There we go. Yes, now a problem for me is while one would like to do everything truly scientifically with veterinary schools doing steady diagnosis, being able to bring dogs back and get everything standardized, that's not the way I can do anything. I have to rely 100% upon you people providing me with information, and I have to use every scrap of information I can to try and make a story which I can understand genetically and then present on to you. So at that level, I'm going to look back to the first instance of cases of kidney disease of some kind, possible kidney disease, that I met throughout my lifetime almost. First of all, this is a key one, Leslie Boyle, late Leslie Boyle, Camsail boxes, came to me in the middle of the PA era, the neuropathy period in boxes. She'd helped a lot with that, and she came and said, I'm wondering about a couple of litters I've got where puppies have been dying, dogs have been dying as they got older from a kidney disease. She showed me the pedigrees, and horror of horrors, they were shown close inbreeding on her champion dog of the day. 2 pedigrees, does that make a story? Meh. But I told her that didn't seem a good story, and she withdrew the dog from stud and stopped that section of her breeding. And as far as I know, there have not been any further cases from that source anywhere in Britain. Then, over the years, there was news that the Swedes were collecting information on kidney disease in all breeds and publishing the pedigrees or the names of dogs which had produced and declaring them not fit for breeding any further. Boxes were included in that, very much so, and some of them were of British stock. I was able to get these British pedigrees, and looked at them. I couldn't see anything there at all. You know, there were a mishmash of all sorts of breeding. So I didn't take it too seriously, especially as we were diagnosing breed after breed with having kidney disease. But then I was made aware of a group in America, and I got those pedigrees, and I looked at them, and I thought, wow, well, there's maybe something a bit more here, because about half of them, maybe a bit more, showed inbreeding on one particular top male. And that looked quite worrying, but then there were others. Now, were they just spontaneous ones, such as Hattie's been talking about, or did it mean there was a gene but it was all over the place? Couldn't really tell. But anyway, there was a bunch of money collected for research on this, known as the Kukey story, one of the dogs that got this problem, and that all the stuff went to Kirsten Lindblad-Toad, the Broad Institute, to study. She didn't get enough, she didn't find the gene which she was looking for. Then in the UK, back here again, I heard about a mother and son getting kidney disease. Could this be the case? I never saw the pedigrees here, but mother and son both getting the kidney disease, living in the same household at the same time. That didn't sound too much to worry about. It could be anything. And then Sheila Cartwright on the Steve Dean Health Committee, last Health Committee, kept on reading. She had heard about kidney disease in boxers throughout much of her life, but she says there were all different diagnoses. She couldn't tell what was going on, but there must be something to look at. So this was at the end of the Steve Dean Committee. I'd had enough, frankly, having dealt with cardiomyopathy for years, and didn't want to do any more about it. Somebody else did. And that was the end of that as far as I was concerned. Yeah. Oh God, you're going back again.
That's right. That's it.
Oh, go forward now.
Should be down.
You've got to mention Sharon.
Sharon McKinley, you can't see it.
You've got to
Oh,
mention Sharon
sorry.
at the
Yeah.
bottom.
I
Yeah.
can't see that, yeah.
Sharon Bombshell.
Anyway, following on this line, am I supposed to be able to change this or not?
You can.
It's just the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do.
Press the
But
button.
it doesn't always work.
Oh, there you go, pointed out. Right, so going on, what is the evidence of a disease in boxers? Well, you've heard quite a lot of this from Hattie, the veterinary publications. She mentioned the Ask Up one, the agrarian insurance in Sweden again, but then we've got all the cases I'll be talking about abroad, here and abroad, but the real question for me, is it inherited? Now this is the key bit that I am doing, adding to this sort of veterinary stuff, diagnostic stuff that Hattie's doing. I'm looking at it as a geneticist, first and foremost. Is it inherited? And I'm not obviously going to show all the pedigrees. We've got hundreds of pedigrees. I've just picked using some examples to explain the situation. You've got a pedigree of a case. Its parents were marked in blue as producers, and Lynn Kinkler, who is on the Boxer JKD website and the group, who has collated all these pedigrees, has put in extra information such as she can. So this dog is the sire of 3 cases. So this backs up that he's produced this one. He's also sire of dogs which have produced JKD. So this is pretty established. And then the key point is that this case is showing inbreeding on this particular dog. This dog back to his granddaughter. More information up there. And this is just one pedigree, but we've got lots and lots of pedigrees. Here's another one. If we say producer A, here, producer O2, here. Oh, back to 3 now. There we go. A, here, doubling up on dog A. This is the pattern we see in these UK pedigrees, and you can add also in continental pedigrees and American pedigrees. This is what we see. So we can also have it where the dogs appear to be unrelated, but this one is producing, that one's producing, so there's no worry about, this coming through to here. And then one might find that there's a dog further back in the pedigree, common to both these, and that if you see it often enough, you can conclude that dog X is a producer as well. And you can follow this back as the pedigrees get wider and wider, separate family groups merging together, and you get the disease coming out. But always there is inbreeding at some level, except in the situation of where dogs are totally unrelated, as in, say, a German one and a UK one, from a family that is producing JKD, from a family that is producing JKD. You put them together, total outcross it appears, but you still can get the disease. So just going back now to the links to earlier observations, Leslie Boyle's cases, she stopped it in this country, but some of her dogs had gone abroad at some point, and they formed nests of kidney disease in other countries, crossing to each other and crossing to native dogs. So this also would have been JKD as we know it today, because these are the current ones fit in here. Then the Swedish cases we saw, they have amplified up the number of cases by a large amount, and we find they fit in to ours without any difficulty. We've got overlaps of Swedish and British dogs. In fact, one of our early cases going out to Sweden was diagnosed as RD and put into the Swedish group. The US cases, we had a case just a few weeks, months ago, in which the mother actually traced back to the key dog that I'd seen before, and the father was a British dog of JKD lines. So we're getting a mixture of dogs from any origin. Then there's Marge Chandler's cases, which was mentioned. She sent me the pedigrees at some early point, asked if there was any evidence of inheritance, and it was this mixed bag of thing. Couldn't tell anything. But in view of what we have now, they fit in precisely, they interact with our pedigrees. They're all part of the same thing. So Sheila, we don't have any of her dogs at that time, or dogs she knew about at that time, but she did have a point. So just a summation of the this, you don't really see this. Most commonly found with inbreeding. You can also get it by doubling up on dogs that are not related, but they have come from JKD families. And one can trace back, really back to the beginning of JKD, in this country at least, to see where it's come from. This is bringing in dogs that have been exported years ago, and you can see they all link up together. And to me, this all indicates or establishes that we have a recessive gene. Now, if one, what's happening now?
Just click on the resume slide.
Yeah. Do you want to, do you click on resume? Yeah.
Yeah, what did you do?
I did.
Oh, right. Okay, so that's a summation of the UK pedigrees. Yeah, and all pedigrees. We've got JKD throughout the world, literally. International crosses can produce it. We find RD cases and JKD cases in the same litters. That's in Norwegian stuff. And it all is indicating that we have one inherited kidney disease in boxers with the same gene, despite the various diagnostic criteria that Hattie was just describing. So this is the, I'm going to hammer, we're talking about a recessive gene. Right, now the question is, one expects with a recessive gene 25%, as I'll show you in a minute. But we've got the practical difficulties, such as Hattie has talked about. And of course there is reporting absences too, likely to be occurred. So it makes life very different. Have I missed the slide?
Yeah, it's switching to
Maybe
yourself.
if
Yeah, I
Kirsty
think
clicks
Kirsty,
through them for
yeah,
you,
I think
if you
it-
just say
Alright.
next,
Yeah,
because
I'll
that
wait
seems a bit
till-
dodgy.
It's better than having two hands on the file. Right, so that's the conclusion, and the next one, sorry?
There.
Yeah. So just to be sure everybody knows what we're talking about, recessive gene. Here, JKD, we call the gene KD, we have a plus for the normal gene. And this is the dog that is a carrier, if you like, got one normal gene, one kidney gene. If you make the two together, you get this 25%, 50%, 25% of affected dogs, two blues, carriers, one and one, and the normal ones as well. So this is the figure that is important. We expect to get 25% with the kidney disease. Though we have the problem that they can occur at different ages, different diagnoses and everything, so there are problems. Here are the problems. You get range of ages, etc. So there's lots of things that go wrong. But the important bit to me, one important bit, is there a big sex difference. More common in females than males. Now in the UK, it is whacking great, 4-to-1 ratio. I could hardly believe that, so I got some of the Swedish data, and well, it's just about the same. And going to Norway, I don't know the numbers, but it was a bit lower. Now that actually, that being lower attracts my attention. It's not a problem, it attracts attention. So going on from there, what more can we get? Right, so I thought I'd look at the dogs of different ages. So we've got females up here, males down here, numbers of animals and the ages. And you see, first of all, it's very obvious, there's your 4-to-1 ratio, a lot of them. And the next thing is that I asked if uterine tract infections could be responsible. And uterine tract infections are recurring in some females, more or less in proportion to the figure there, but there's only a tiny number relative to here. If you take them away, you're not going to get this figure. So females are still more evident. Here we see again that kidney disease can be diagnosed very early on. Got cases down below 6 months, but you know most of them are juvenile, and this applies to the males too. Some of the vets in general practice ultrasound scan them as well, and we find a range of kidney abnormalities, missing kidneys, small kidneys, scarred kidneys, even cystic kidneys among these dogs, all of which seem to have the same family group, the same genetic background, the same gene. And so this is saying that whatever is leading to kidney disease is possibly occurring earlier. And here you can see so much early, right at the very beginning. There is this skew, at least certainly up to 12 months there is a skew, it's constant, more females than males. So something else is going on. What is it? Can we follow this further back? So UTI is not involved. The key bit is that tail of the distribution. Tail down here, tail down there. And interesting, the Norwegian data had a lot more males, I'm told, at later ages. So this is the bit I think is the most important of the lot. This is a shortage of males. What is happening? Are males more severely affected so that they die very early on? Or is it that they're less affected and go on and don't produce the disease? There is possibly some evidence to support this from human data, where I'm told that this kind of abnormality is commonly more seen more frequently in males than females. So maybe that's that. But I have no direct evidence at all. What evidence do you expect? You'd expect low litter sizes if they're dying before birth. You'd expect dying puppies. You'd expect, fading puppies, things going wrong at this very early age. I don't have any access to that information, barring one litter where one new breeder had zealously screened puppies which he thought there was a problem with. In the litter there was one small runty puppy and one fading puppy, which were post-mortem, and the kidneys were examined and said to be kidney disease, egg kidney disease. Two other puppies, at least in the litter, developed what we call JKD later. So pretty certain that is the case. But this one puppy was a female, so not a male, so it doesn't help us at all to understanding what is going on here. Now, as to here, I think you could say you have evidence. You've got that tail trailing on to later ages of dogs of the same breeding, being litter mates of others, all having the disease. So I think there are positive indications that this could be occurring, and that is crucially important. The implications, if the males from affected litters are having 2 doses of the gene, so they can go on and survive and breed, then it is spreading the disease around very much more rapidly, and you don't know anything about it. So that is the problem. And then there is the other problem for the people looking for the gene. If you have a population of females with the disease, 2 doses of it, there's a females, population of dogs with 2 doses of the gene which are affected, and you want to see what is different from them at the DNA level from a normal population of dogs, and the normal population of dogs has got ones with 2 doses as well. You're comparing like with like. So it's making life very much more complicated. Now we've got off again. Oh, sorry. Again. No, you're going to have to sort it again because the always says. There we go. So breeding recommendations, well, some of them I've given out before, but there is the old-fashioned way of avoiding. One, breeding from animals that produced JKD. I mean, that's not mind brain. If you don't want to get light-eyed puppies, you don't use dogs that produce light eyes. If you don't want JKD, you don't use dogs that produce JKD. Very simple. Now I've added this one in too, on the litters where we've got affected ones. That has got more serious now in view of the recent discoveries that they are at higher risk, and it's probably with females as well as males, don't know, but definitely males. But not many people are going to use dogs at stud, which come from litters of JKD, so it's a minor point. Then avoiding inbreeding as far as possible. The more closer they are, the more likely to turn up the disease, JKD, or anything else, in fact, if there's anything else in there. Not doubling up on dogs which both sides produce JKD. We've covered that kind of angle. But the other cautionary thing is not to select too hard. Now with cardiomyopathy, I think people did select too hard. They went out everything, which was a shame. But here, one is just going to have to grit one's teeth and breed on from descendants of producers. Otherwise, as you know, in this breed, we haven't got anywhere else to go. The other couple of cautionary things, which are a little bit independent, is avoiding the use of excess use of males. All the eggs going into one basket. If there's any problem with these dogs other than JKD, it's going to come out in a couple of generations' time. So just be careful about that. Now, as to imports, they've got JKD abroad. We've got it here. It seems to be pretty high frequency over here. Maybe dogs from abroad are not going to make things any worse, but all you can do is caution, try to find out about them so you're not bringing in stuff that has produced it already, as has happened actually. Then just general advice. Urine-specific gravity testing, as Marge Chandler did for us a few years ago, it would be a good idea to check everything you can to try and find out what your state is, if your puppy's all right, if your stock, if sold is all right. And this is a good one. A good proportion of the people reporting JKD cases to me say, we saw there was something wrong from a puppy. It was a run to the litter. I wanted a litter one, pet people. Breeders won't be going for that too much, which is maybe why you don't get so many cases reported from breeders. But anyway, so I think that is something to avoid at all costs for any kind of animal breeding. Recording fading puppies. I'm looking to see where these missing males are, where they've gone. Are they really being lost here, or are they occurring later? So look for missing puppies, record the litter sizes, and this is as much for analysis, genetic analysis, as your own point of view, but it's a guideline to where things may not be right. Now again, this is and then following up at later ages, and all of this actually should be reported. But for research purposes, I don't think it's a matter. Christine? Oh, go on. I'm doing it without even looking. So what I think is needed research, I think the needed stuff is to find out why we have a shortage of males. Are they fading puppies, dying puppies early on, which doesn't make much difference to the breed. It's a horrible waste of puppies. But if are they dying later, and then the only way we can check after that is to look at the kidneys of dogs which are dying at old age. All dogs, but it's the normal ones we're looking at. And then the ultimate one is to find the gene. Now I think that is basically my story, and it's really up to you guys to decide what you want to do. I've told you the story as best as I can, the most information I can get out of it, and you having to decide whether you're going to live with a breed which produces puppies which are dying like this on the neck. Pretty ghastly, horrible death as they slowly poison themselves to death. So that is the story. It's really up to you. My bit is over. Just acknowledgements to the Boxer JKD group, which is an international group, America, Sweden, and here, who have collated all the pedigrees and got all the stuff with me. Then of course all the owners in here and abroad who have contributed material. Leslie Boyle, I think, needs attention because she was the first to really show that there was a problem. Sharon McCurdy, whose sad experiences brought JKD to light. She had a whole bunches of stuff in the beginning, helped find lots of early cases. And then I should mention Kirsty, who's done a lot of work on these slides and helping me with this stuff. And last but not least, my geneticist colleague and wife, who has kept everything together over this past quite difficult. Okay, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please, off.
Yes,
off, please.
You are directly under it.
I know I am.
It's moving.
On these trigger device, thank you. Right. Okay, forward or just back.
Down is forward. The down arrow. I
that
think
one.
if you press
That
that
one.
one, it takes it off completely. So it's down is forward.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, over to Bill Amos now, who's not going to use the sound system.